Good morning. I hope everybody that listens is keeping well. I'm outside enjoying this beautiful weather. Yesterday I was locked in, I couldn't get out. It rained a lot and the wind was the worst. You couldn't hold an umbrella, you couldn't. So I stayed inside all day. And I hate that. I hate that. Staying inside. So I was listening I do a lot of listening to the internet, to YouTube. There are other platforms, but one can only stretch enough. I'm already busy, with the reading and etc. I have plenty of books in my waiting list and tons of PDFs that I downloaded for free thanks to the awesome people out there. Tons and tons of things to occupy, but you kind of get sick if you stay locked inside for a whole day. I need to walk at least 3 4 hours a day. I need to be outside walking, hugging trees and shit. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's important to our bodies is like a capacitor, and we need to discharge. We need to earth our body. We need to what's the expression? And hugging a tree is actually a good idea. You will get rid of the static. you know you will ground. I think that's the expression. You will ground. We need to ground ourselves. It's imperative for our health. Anyway, some people even say we ought to tie some copper wires into our beds, and ground our beds. Not only it will ground us, it will also protect us from these invasive frequencies from technology. Anyway, I was listening to the internet and someone said something very interesting. I was like, huh, that sounds reasonable. He said, there's this Greek word gnosis, and it means roughly knowledge. It means insight. It means spiritual insight into knowledge. Gnosis. And then he said, if you add the prefix to the word gnosis, a, and you read agnosis, it means the opposite. It starts meaning the opposite. Agnosis means roughly ignorance. Ignorance, stupidity, the opposite of spirituality. You're like, okay, agnosis. Gnosis, agnosis, right. Similarly, there's another word in Sanskrit, vidya. Vidya has the same meaning as gnosis, spiritual insight, knowledge, etc. Adding the prefix avidya, means the opposite: stupidity, ignorance, window leaking, smelling your own flatulence, etc., etc. So then he said, Brahman is a spiritual appellation, for the divine. To attain Brahman, or to attain a Buddhahood, is a path, and at the end of the path you attain illumination, you attain union with the divine, and that was roughly called Brahman or Buddhahood. A Brahman means the opposite. I was like, yeah, okay, following the same logic. Abrahamic is the opposite of Brahman. And yes, metaphysics and the sectarian version of metaphysics and philosophy, originates from India, and Egyptian, Indian, and ancient Greek. I mean, it's pretty much the same stuff. They're all talking about the same thing. Now, which one came first? The oldest texts are definitely from India, like the Bhagavad Gita. Who came first? Who cares who came first? To me, you know, they're all simultaneous because it's the same people. It's the same Asian people, you know. There is no concept of country or tribe, or no concept of race or ethnicity in the past. These are modern concepts because there's groups of people that are now ruling the world. They can't see the world without the usage of concepts, you know. They have to encapsulate things inside a box, inside a concept, and then manipulate it left and right. They can't have an intuitive mind. They just can't. That's why they invent concepts. Anyway, so Abrahamic has origins in the Brahman religion. Yeah. Krishna is Christ. I'm sorry. That's just it. Of course, Krishna first became, what's his name? Apollo. Apollo is Krishna. Apollo is Lucifer. Like Jesus is Apollo and Apollo is Krishna, Apollo is Lucifer and Jesus is Satan, because Satan is the ego, the shadow, whatever you want to call it. You know, Lucifer or Satan represents the false self. Yeah. So anyway, Serapis. I mean, that's Coptic, you know, Egyptian. Serapis. That's the equal of Jesus and Apollo. Serapis. Serapis was the successor of Osiris and the other one I can't remember right now. Osiris and man, I can't remember the Egyptian pantheon. I'm sorry. You know, but they represent the same archetypes, the same fucking story over and over again with different names. So anyway, Abrahamic is the opposite of Brahmanism. Abrahamic represents stupidity, ignorance, materialism, and similar to creation, similar to Big Bang. I mean, Big Bang was invented by Jesuit priests. I mean, it comes from the same place. Big Bang, Gnosticism, not the original version, but the sectarian version of Gnosticism, Judaism, Christianity, they all come from, you know, creationism. They all come from materialism, and it's not philosophy at all. What is philosophy? Not religion, right? Philosophy is wisdom, the love for wisdom, wisdom about, or wisdom about knowledge. You know, it's a certain wisdom, you know, that you have about knowledge. Because raw knowledge in itself, you know, can be actually very dangerous. That's why people who commit the most atrocities in the world are highly IQ people. They have huge IQ, but they have no wisdom, so they end up doing the most atrocious things. You know, dehumanization, you know, segregation, concentration camps, witch hunts, you know. They are the experts, you see. The experts, and because they are all-knowing experts, they think they can rule over everybody. They don't have any wisdom on how to, you know. So, philosophy is wisdom about knowledge and wisdom about thoughts, because what is the point in you know, thinking a lot if it doesn't make any sense? You have to have certain wisdom about your thoughts. Yeah. So, and that is philosophy. Philosophy is a certain wisdom about knowledge, a certain wisdom about thoughts, And of course, philosophy is what connects us to the divine. Philosophy is magic. Philosophy is the divine, the connection to the divine. That's philosophy. Philosophy of the past, from India to Egypt to Greece, was all about uh, the intelligible, things that we could intuitively reason. It was, conventionally saying, in higher frequency. We philosophize about what's the divine, quote unquote, high frequencies, and what is the relationship between those high frequencies and the human, the material aspect. What's above, so below, so to speak. They often, everybody talks about what's above, has above, so below, but a thing that could be considered a logical fallacy is when you compare what's below with what's above. No, that doesn't work like that. The material realm reflects the divine realm, but not the other way around. Sorry. Because you can't purify the flesh, you can't purify the material, you know? So, anyway, so philosophy is divine reasoning, right? Is what some people call the logos, divine reasoning. A certain wisdom about knowledge, a certain wisdom about thoughts, a certain wisdom about the forms, these bodies that we are, operating, a certain wisdom about our feelings, a certain wisdom about our perceptions, machinations of the mind, certain wisdom about that's philosophy and how it connects to the divine. But then comes the Abrahamics, which are anti-philosophy. Anti-divine. Their whole belief system is on creationism. Creationism, materialism. There's a cause, a big bang, or they are of the idea that everything comes from nothing. You're like, what? You just replaced God, the concept of God, with, energy or whatever, particles. I think they call it particles. You just replaced God with particles when you say, crazy shit like that. That from nothing came everything. It's no different than the Abrahamic religion, the Abrahamic faith. So what's the difference between the Big Bang and the Abrahamics? The Abrahamics have this weird idea of this guy behind the clouds with a magnifying glass, and they are extremely dogmatic, and they love the tyranny. They love the tyranny of morality, and they encapsulate that tyranny inside, for instance, the commandments. If you don't follow these commandments, then you are against us. It's the binary, dichotomous logic in practice. If you're not with us, you're against us. Similar, these guys that practice the Big Bang, they call themselves atheists, but they are not atheists. They say, if you don't take the juice, you're against us. It's the same binary, totalitarian, sentiment. It doesn't really change. So what's the difference between an Abrahamic and a Big Bang believer? Nothing. No difference at all. They just replaced particles or energy or whatever with the term God. The concept of God. They just replaced one with the other. An atheist is not what they think it is. An atheist is a metaphysical atheist, and I've heard this also online. Metaphysical atheist is not someone who denies the existence of God. No, metaphysical atheists denies the existence of the soul. It's completely different. The soul and everything spiritual. Philosophy, for instance, they also deny philosophy because philosophy is all about spiritual insight. Philosophy is a spiritual practice. Is what what's his name? Aristotle is what Aristotle used to call magic. He said, philosophy is magic, is spiritual. Sorcery, on the other hand, is rituals, right? Anyway, so Abrahamic is the opposite of divinity. Interesting, isn't it? Anyway, I've been talking for 16 minutes already. I think I'm going to shut up now. Have a nice day.